Okay, welcome back. I am calling this part 7 scoring in my Pong Redux tutorial series, and this is going to be a big update. Well, not real big, but there's a lot of code here compared to the previous ones. And after this, we'll have what I consider the bare bones of a working game. So that's exciting. Let's jump right into it. As part of this update, this update is all about leveling the game. So in this video, we're going to introduce a couple of new counting variables. One is going to count the total number of hits with the ball as it's volleyed back and forth. And the other variable is going to keep track of a level. So the idea is that after a certain number of hits, like after the players volley for a while, we want to increase the difficulty level, which involves making the ball move faster and also making the paddles move faster, because you have to be able to move your paddle faster as the ball increases speed. Otherwise, it'll be impossible and the game won't be fun. So we need a couple of new variables for that, and then we have to do some counting and switch the backgrounds when we level up and so on. So let's get started here. I'm going to put those variables in first. So we're going to pull over the var x equals block, and the first one is going to be total hit, and the next one is going to be level. We're going to start level at 1, and I'm going to kind of go in order through my code. So this might not make perfect sense because it's I'm kind of doing this out of logical order, but, well, maybe not. I'm going to go down to the code that handles when the ball goes off the screen. The ball goes off the top or the bottom of the screen right here. So if that's the case, then, one of the players has missed, and what we want to do is return to level 1, slow the ball back down. We're basically resetting everything to where it originally began. That's going to involve setting the player speed back to 10, and it's going to involve setting the level back to 1, and it's going to involve setting background 1 visibility to true and all the other background visibilities to false. It's also the last thing that we need to do. We need to set the total hits back to 0, and we have to set the ball's velocity back to its original velocity, which was 7 or -7. So total hits is easy. Let's start with that. So we're going to pull over a purple. Total hits is equal to 0, back to where we started. Now the ball velocity, we're going to need to, because we want the ball to continue in the direction that it's moving. It might be moving upward in a negative y direction, or it might be moving downward in a positive y direction. So we want to preserve that. So we have to test to see which direction it's heading. And we do that with an if statement. So we're going to pull in an if here. And we want to know if the ball's y velocity is greater than 0 or not. If it is, we want to continue with a positive velocity. That would be moving downward. But we want to set its speed back down to where it began, which was 7. Variables, third block. So if the ball's velocity is less than 0, so I'm going to hit that plus button to put an else in here, then we want it to continue moving downward, but we want to set its velocity back to -7, so we got to do that again here. Velocity y equals -7, and that should do it for handling velocity. Now we also need, because we're going to be increasing player speed as the levels go up, so we also need to set the player speed back to 10 where it started. So we're going to do that here. Be careful of where you're dropping these blocks in, right? Because we have an if statement. We have an if statement that all of this stuff is in, and then we just put an if inside of an if, so we have a nested if here. This command goes inside the first if, but outside the second one. So this one is going to say player speed equals 10. We also need to set the level back to 1. And then we also we got to deal with the backgrounds. We're going to go to variables, drag that guy in, sprite, and bg1.visible equals true. Now copy and paste this 7 times, and bg2.visible equals false. Actually, maybe copying it once. Now copy this one for however many backgrounds you have. I have an additional 6. Whoops, need one more. Okay. So that handles resetting everything if the ball goes off the bottom of the screen. Now we have to do the same thing if the ball goes off the top of the screen here, if the ball.y is less than 0. Fortunately, I think that we can copy most of this and do a copy paste. So I'm going to click and drag and copy, move down here and paste. Okay, so total hits equals 0, that's the same. If the ball's velocity, you know, I'm just thinking right now that if the ball's going off the top of the screen, the velocity has to be in the negative direction. And if it's going off the bottom of the screen, it has to be in the positive direction. So I don't even think we need this if statement. I'm gonna leave it there because it's not hurting anything and we've already done it, but I think this could be simplified. But I'm gonna leave it. Player speed goes back to 10. Level goes back to 1, and these are all the same, and we're done with that part. Nice. So now we have to do the code that increases the level. So as total hits goes up, when it reaches a threshold, then we'll switch the backgrounds, we'll increase the player speed, we'll increase the ball speed, and we'll increase the level number. So, and then we'll copy all that and do it again. And again and again and again and again. So I'm going to scroll down to right after the if statement that was if ball dot is touching player 2, which is right here, just above draw sprites. I'm going to pull in a new if statement. If total hits, and I said 20, and equals 20. Don't forget that if we're checking equality, we have to use equals. So if we have 20 hits total, then we level up, which means our first background becomes invisible and our second background becomes visible. So bg1.visible equals false, and bg2.visible equals true. So the background changes color, and we want to increase player speed. Player speed equals player speed plus 4. And again, we can see why it's useful to use this player speed variable. And here we need that if statement again. If its velocity is greater than 0, then we're going to increase it. Otherwise, we're going to decrease it. I'm going to go back up here where I wrote that other one, right here. And I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to move back down here. And I'm going to paste it here. So if the velocity is greater than 0, we have a positive the ball dot velocity y is equal to 7. And I want to increase that by 2, so I'm going to say ball dot velocity y equals 9. And if it's less than 0, it's at -7, and we're going to make it -9. Now we have to increase the total number of hits by 1. So that is a counter pattern. And I realized just now that I didn't increment the total hits when the ball bounces off one of the player paddles, which is here. If ball is touching player 1, we need to copy and paste this line up in there. And also for player 2. Okay, and then finally we need to increase the level. We need to level up. So that's going to be level equals level plus 1, counter pattern. And now we should be able to just do a copy and paste for the next level. So Command C, Command V. Now we want to change from, so when we hit 20, we go to level 2. And then let's say every 20. So when we hit 40 hits, We'll go to level 3. These stay the same. No, they don't. So BG2 now is going to be set to invisible, and BG3 is going to be set to visible. Player speed equals player speed plus 4 stays the same. And now we're going to increase the velocity to 11 and negative 11. And these two lines stay the same as well. Then we can copy and paste for the next level. We'll go to 60. Velocity goes to 13 and negative 13. Next level, 80. Background 5 is visible. Velocity goes to 15. The ball is now moving pretty rapidly. Keep going. 100 hits. 17. Negative 17. And finally, I think this is my last one, because I only had 7 backgrounds. Okay, I think we're ready for a play test, so let's do it. Now, I got to play both players and get to 20 hits. I lost count. Oh, there it goes. Level 2. Okay, so that's working. Okay, that's a bug. Level 3. We've got a bug on level 3. But it started over correctly. Okay. So what did I notice? Level 3, when we hit level 3, we had the level 3 background, but it was tiny. And it was in front, it was small. So it hasn't been resized properly. I think that's the only problem. So I'm going to go back up here and check my sprite.scale is 1.1. Let's change that to 4.2 like the others and see if that solves the problem. I think that was 6, 7, 8. Okay. Nice. Fixed. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I'm noticing a little bit on that right margin of the ball is... So the background is not being redrawn. The background's not big enough, essentially, again. So I should probably go to sprite.scale equals 4.3. But everything else seems to be working just fine. All right. And we have basically, well, let me change this real quick. And we have basically a finished game at this point. I would encourage you to keep going. There's, a lot of different things you could add to this. You could definitely change the look of the player sprites, or change the ball. You could add different effects. You could add multi-ball, like 2 balls. You could add other obstacles that appear or disappear or get bounced around. Lots of different things you could do. So use this as a springboard for your creativity, and I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye now.